First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone, while unto truth, and also to those elect that scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the title of the lesson is Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act. Jacob's trouble is here. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this will help you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So we're seeing a lot of things that's happening in the news right now, a lot of prophetic things that is happening. A lot of prophecies are speaking loud and clear. You know, the men of the Lord constantly been warning you about this time, which in fact is Jacob's trouble. And out about it, we knowing that the whole world will be in turmoil, but we know the one that will be most in trouble is the Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indians. I'm talking to you, you know, the children of Israel. And out about we knowing that this devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath. He knowing that his time is very short. So we seeing now he's constantly putting his plan into place. So we seeing what's happening in Minnesota. You know, we knowing that now that, you know, that Trump, he's threatening to invoke or use the Insurrection Act, you know, for what martial law to lock down these cities. Also, we seeing that America slowly becoming a police state of third world country. So these things are right here before our eyes. So right now in Minnesota, it pretty much is a what you call a hot zone right now, war zone right now. So we seeing now that you know, about the lady was unalive. Also in Portland, you know, it was 2 shootings up there. Now it's more reports that another guy was unalive. You know, it was not too much talk about that, but we already knowing that these things gonna constantly pick up. We know what happened in LA last year, also in Chicago, you know. So right now, you know, they're, you know, getting ready to ramp it up. And also we know that they shall be like madmen, sparing none. That's what we constantly warn you about. The Lord is bringing forth that judgment. The Lord said, first my judgment will start at the house of Israel. We already knowing that it started with the northern tribe, but we knowing that it's going to pop off in the southern tribe, which in fact are you Negroes, who shall rouse him up. So we at that point now of no return, and that about we upon a time of trouble that we have never seen before. And that about we seeing these things are constantly picking up left and right, one thing behind another. Also, we knowing about the war news. You know, we constantly hearing about the U.S. trying to annex Greenland. You know, it's a lot of tensions there, and also there's already reports that NATO now is putting troops on the ground in Greenland as we speak, and also China and Canada, they're coming up with a deal. They're coming into an alliance together. So we're seeing how this picture is lining up. The Lord is gathering the nation. The Lord is causing these things to happen because he's accelerate time for what the elect say. So we're seeing now 2026 is very prophetic. And also this could be our salvation. Also the great and glorious return of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. It is at the door. So now let's get this little AI overview about, you know, this Insurrection Act and what Donald Trump is constantly trying to do right before our eyes, you know. And also we know that you know, we seeing now that, you know, this place is slowly turning into a third world country once again. So let's read this. It said, President Donald Trump recently threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act to quell ongoing protests against federal immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Said this is not the first time he has made such a threat, but he has not followed through on it to date. So right now, you know, he's constantly saying what he's gonna do, but we know at some point this is going to happen. That's what we constantly tell you. Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 7 is pretty much in full effect. You know, it says it is even the time of Jacob's trouble. You know, but what Jacob shall be saved out of what the elect. But see, we know that now that this man is getting ready to follow this through, because this is a part of the plan. So now they constantly, you know, ordering more ICE patrols in these major cities, left and right, constantly beefing up military presence, turning this place into a police state. We already know that they want total control. And also we know that they come with this new digital society, a cashless society. Also it's going to be dealing with your biometrics. We constantly warning you about these things left and right. The Lord already said in Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 17, he said, warn them for me. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it is what we're constantly warning you for, left and right, whether you will hear or whether you will for bad, really does not matter, because it is happening right before your eyes. So now, let's get a little bit more. They said the context of the threat. It said location and cause. It said the threat is specific to Minneapolis. Said where intensified protests followed two shootings involving immigration and custom enforcement. Said ICE agents within a week, including the fatal shooting of a woman and the shooting and wounding of a man. Said Trump's statement. It said in a post on Truth Social, Trump stated, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patrons of ICE who are only trying to do their jobs, so I will institute the Insurrection Act. So the Insurrection Act pretty much, lines up perfectly with what? Martial law, lockdowns, checkpoints, also taking you to these facilities like these FEMA camps that they already have in place left and right, and a whole lot of people are going to be unalived. So we're seeing that we're here. I mean, these things are right before our eyes. So pretty much what we're going to all get out of this report, we're seeing right now that, that we're very close, to these great tribulation, great persecution. It is here, it is at the door. So a lot of things is constantly happening, we see it in the news right here. We're just going to read some of these titles. This one here is by Reuters. It said Trump threatened to use military over Minnesota anti-ICE protests. So there's a lot of protesting is going on, rioting, uproars of the people. Now we're seeing that America is very divided. If our nation is divided, cannot stand. So it's left and right. We're seeing these things are happening. Also we know what's going on in Iran, protesting going on over there. Now they saying that they got it pretty much under control, but we already knowing that the least of the flock should draw them out, which in fact is Israel. So it's a lot of these things that constantly happen. So we're gonna get some videos in a minute, and the Insurrection Act. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get the meaning of that also. I think I passed it up. Let's see. It says here, let's get the meaning of what it means, the Insurrection Act. It said the Insurrection Act of 1807 is a federal law that gives the president the authority to deploy U.S. military forces domestically, said to enforce laws and suppress rebellion or civil unrest. So that's exactly what we're seeing right now, rebellion and civil unrest. And one thing about it, they already set in the stage, order out of chaos. Exactly what we're seeing right now. He won't this place be, he want America to be policed by the military. We're seeing right now that the police and also the county sheriffs, all these local law enforcement, they pretty much are very quiet right now. They're standing down. Also, the National Guard. We're seeing that they're constantly moving in ICE patrol, and also we know that at some point the UN troops are going to come in. These Gurga troops, these super soldiers, these sleeper cells. It's what we constantly warn you about. It's about to get real, and all the games are about to be over. So now, let's go here. Let's go straight to the point. Let's go here to Jeremiah, because this right here, this scripture is going to be coming out left and right. And also, El Tahar already said that, you know what I'm saying, he's seeing it right, it's happening right before your eyes. It's here, man. Jacob's trouble, man. So let's go straight to that point. Let's go here to Jeremiah chapter 30. We're going to go back to the video. And once again, I hope that you will get edified, man. I'm telling you, man, we're living in some very exciting time, man. We are here. It is at the door. Let me highlight this right quick. I'm working with a new tablet, so bear with me for right now. So lock you for that. But hey, we're going to constantly do the will of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So it says here, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. Let's read it in the KJV first. It said, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It said, it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So right here, it says it's going to be a time that's going to be so great that the Lord is going to have to intervene, or it won't be no flesh saved. Because one thing about it, we seeing right now, we're coming upon a lawless time. It's called Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, the hour of testing. This man is getting ready to lose his damn mind, because he knowing that his time is very short, and the Lord is going to intervene. When you go to Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, the archangel Michael is getting ready to stand up for the children of Israel, for the elect. So it says right here, it says even the time of Jacob's trouble. So we're in that time right now. We're seeing right now it's obvious and clear. It's being manifest or revealed right before our eyes. We're seeing a lot of protesting. We're seeing increased violence. It's going to constantly pick up. It's nothing going back the same. The mental law, we've constantly been warning you about these things left and right. Still think that this is a game? You still are scoffing and mocking? You still are being despisers of the words of Yahweh, but guess what? The Lord is getting ready to purge out the rebels. So right here, when you go to the word Jacob, we know that Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. Also, we know that Jacob is the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel. And not about who would be the most in trouble: the Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indians. I'm talking to you. I'm not giving a damn about these heathen. I'm talking to my people. It's time to return, to repent, to your true power, while it's still time. And only the election will get it this time around. But it says here, but he shall be saved out of it. Who shall be saved out of the election? You know what I'm saying? The true believers of Yahweh, the elect, the house of David. And not about the Lord is only coming back for that 1/3 remnant, the one that stayed loyal to him over 2,000 years ago. And one thing about it, we're here, it is at the door. And we're seeing right now that we're coming upon these perilous times. We're seeing that we're coming upon a great economic collapse. And also we're seeing that MOTB, they get ready to roll it out. We already knowing about Elon Musk mass production of this brain interface, this brain computer interface. So a lot of things are coming into play left and right. So let's get it in the NLT. It says here, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7 in the NLT, it says, in all history, there has never been such a time of terror. So it will be a time of trouble for my people, Israel, the Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indians. It said, yet in the end, they will be saved. Only the elect this time around. But we knowing that, that all Israel will be saved. But this time around, the first dominion, it will be the election. The one that was preordained from the beginning. That's who the Lord is coming back for, to set up that righteous kingdom, which in fact is the kingdom of heaven that dwells in righteousness. So we knowing that our salvation is very close at hand. We're seeing that the Lord is causing these things to happen one behind another. We're seeing that time is constantly speeding up. The Lord is accelerating time for the election. We're seeing it happening right before our eyes. So we're seeing that we're in day, what day it is we're in day 15? Day 16 of 2026, and everybody, we seeing that all sorts of hell is breaking loose. We're living in some very prophetic time, and also these are the last days, whether you were here or whether you will forbear. So now let's go back to the video. I got a couple of videos that we're gonna go into. We're just gonna be random videos. Let's show this one first. This one here is pretty interesting. Let's go to this one here first. Let's go to this one.
We're on the verge of armed U.S. military troops policing U.S. citizens on the streets of Minneapolis because the president is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act. So he just posted on social media this morning, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act. That would be a massive escalation here. So basically what happened is there was a second shooting involving an ICE officer in Minneapolis. And overnight, no matter who you blame or think is at fault here, there were violent clashes between protesters and federal agents. Now, the Insurrection Act basically allows the president, as an emergency power, to step in and to deploy the U.S. military to be used as law enforcement against U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. Now, there's a law in place, the Posey Comitatus Act, that blocks that from happening. The exception is the Insurrection Act. So you're talking about active duty military like Marines, airmen, soldiers, on the streets of a U.S. city to police American citizens. It has happened before several times. The last time was President Bush in 1992 with the LA riots. Deploying the military as a law enforcement apparatus would mean they would be able to make arrests. They would be able to do traffic stops. And I point out the word insurrection because if you use the Insurrection Act, that is used for things to quell an insurrection, quell domestic violence, and step in when the state and local law enforcement have proven that they are unable to enforce federal law. So the question becomes, how do you define insurrection? How do you define unable to implement and defend federal law? Those are the questions at stake here. So I hope that helps clarify things a little bit. There are going to be a whole lot of...
As tensions rise in Minneapolis, the Insurrection Act, one powerful law, is being mentioned again, alongside Donald Trump. But what exactly is it? The Insurrection Act was passed in 1807, when the young United States feared that internal uprisings could threaten the federal government itself. The law gives the sitting president a special authority, allowing the deployment of federal troops inside the United States to respond to unrest, rebellion, or situations where a state is deemed unable to maintain order. The most controversial part is this. Once invoked, the president can send troops into a state without the consent of that state's governor. This is almost unheard of in normal American politics. Historically, the Insurrection Act has been used before. Abraham Lincoln relied on it during the Civil War. President Dwight Eisenhower used it to enforce school desegregation in Arkansas. In 1992, federal troops were deployed in Los Angeles after the Rodney King riots. Each time, order was restored quickly. But the consequences were profound. Public trust was shaken, and Americans were left asking whether federal power had gone too far. That is why every time the Insurrection Act comes up, it is not just about security. It is about the limits of presidential power in the United States. Do you see the Insurrection Act as a necessary safeguard, or a dangerous expansion of presidential authority? Share your thoughts in the comments.
We began in Minneapolis, where tensions came to a boiling point overnight. The president now issuing new threats to send in the military. This was the scene after a federal officer reportedly shot an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela in the leg. The Department of Homeland Security says the agent was conducting a targeted traffic stop and fired in an attempt to defend themselves after a struggle. A crowd of protesters then gathered at the scene, with some throwing fireworks, rocks, and ice at federal agents. The officers responded with flashbangs and gas canisters. Namdi, what's the latest on the investigation into this new shooting? And take us through what you saw last night following this new ICE-involved shooting.
Yeah, Anna, according to the Department of Homeland Security, we know that the Venezuelan immigrant that was at that ICE was intending to apprehend was taken to the hospital to be treated for his wounds. It is now in custody. We know that 2 additional suspects that were involved in that scuffle are also now in custody. And as far as what we saw last night, we were here when all of this was going down, as we saw crowds continue to form and get into increasingly volatile clashes with federal law enforcement and also local PD that initially responded to some of these reports. I want to show you the road here because it tells a lot of the story of how violent that clash was. All of these white marks you see here, those are remnants of pepper balls. And as you see, they are all over the street. Just standing here now, I can tell you that the tear gas is still incredibly pungent. We smell it. We're also still fighting debris like this. This is what's called a blast ball. And it was used last night. What it does, essentially, when it's thrown by federal agents, it creates a loud bang sound. It also creates a flash of light. And also, it has rubber pellets that then just spread and hit everyone nearby. So the fact that we're still fighting this after cleaning crews came on the scene, after we saw volunteers this morning come and pick stuff up, this gives you a picture of just how volatile things were and the amount of non-lethal resources that these agents had to use to try to contain this crowd. All of this comes, as we've heard from Governor Walz and Mayor Fry, warning that violent protests like we saw last night could incite the federal government to have even more of a response here, which of course would continue to upset many of the protesters we spoke to.
So now we go and get a couple of precepts, and we'll come back to this video. I'll pull out a few more, but we're seeing right now that we are so very close. So let's go here to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. So these scriptures right here going to be coming out a whole lot because we are here. Let's go 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 15. It says here, it says, for the sword in their destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. So we exactly what we're going to constantly see this left and right. A lot of people going to be standing up left and right, civil war, protesting, rioting, different civil unrest, uproars of the people. And out about the modern day sword is the gun. And out about we're going to be seeing that used a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Now, one thing about it, we already know the tear gas and bombing. So we're seeing now what was happening all over these others, in these other nations. Now it is here in America. America is looking just like a war zone. We seeing it with our own eye. And the men of the Lord, we constantly been warning you that about this left and right, starting with the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and also the men that teach the identical doctrine, of Great Millstone, the sincere men. And out about, the Lord is getting ready to expose a lot of things. The Lord is shifting the house. And one thing about it, the only one that will stand, when all the smoke clear, will be the elect, the true believers of Yahweh by Shema Shai. So one thing about it, a lot of things are getting ready to happen right before a lot of people are not going to believe these things until they happen. And then the Lord is going to choose your delusion. Verse 16 said, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. So we're seeing right now sedition goes into what? Protesting, rioting, uproars, civil unrest, civil wars, a lawless time, lawlessness. That's what it's going into. So that's exactly what we're seeing. They constantly not showing no regards to these ICE patrol, also local law enforcement. They're not going to show regards to anyone. That's where we're at right now. And said, in the course of their action shall stand in their power. So right now, ICE is pretty much doing what the hell they want to do. This woman was unalived. This guy right here, a Venezuelan man, was shot in the leg. Also was a black man, a so-called black man, was shot and killed. They still won't put it in the news. So we're seeing these things happen. Also, what's going on, them 2 shootings in Portland, and also several other cities across America. It is happening. It's happening right before our eye. Verse 17 says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able because of the what? The Insurrection Acts. The Insurrection Act would call for what? Martial law, checkpoints, lockdown. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. It is here. It is at the door. So a man shall desire to go in the city and shall not be able because of what? This Insurrection Act. These executive orders they constantly putting into play. And also, they're going to feed you things being idols. You know what I'm saying? With the fact is that digital oil. These FEMA camps are coming into play. These guillotines, these firing squad, these gas chambers. It's what we're constantly warning you about. It is about to get real. Verse 18 said, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So because of their pride, the city is going to be what? Trouble. Or they're going to be destroyed, and saying the houses shall be destroyed. So that means that there's going to be a lot of, robbing, stealing, killing, and raping is getting ready to happen because of what? The lack of what? Resource. Let's get in the next verse. It says, verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, said, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because the lack of bread and great tribulation. So a lack of what? A resource, no food, no water, no housing, no clothing, no medication, no alcohol, no drugs. Throw all that in there, It's getting ready to be a crazy time. People are getting ready to lose their mind. A lot of people right now are going to have a lot of sorrow. A lot of people are going to be what? Very afraid. A lot of people are going to be what? Travailing with a woman with child. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. So a lot of people are saying that they're built for this. But what? Guess what? The Lord is getting ready to find out everyone on the planet. It's getting ready to go through these things. There's no one that's going to escape the hands of Yahweh by Shema Shai. So let's read this once again. It said, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, very afraid. A lot of men going to be just like women in that time of trouble, muscle-bound men. They're going to be very afraid. They're going to be bugged out of their mind. And one thing about a lot of our people don't have faith. They don't have works, and you're going to be totally destroyed. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. The Lord is getting ready to bring forth that judgment like we have never seen before. We know we read upon what? World War III. And also, things can go nuclear at any given time, but not before the implementation of the RFD microchip, which in fact is the mark of the beast. So now, let's go back to the videos, and then we're going to jump around a little bit. We'll go to the second Ezra. We're going to go to, no, let's go here first. Let's go here to Luke. Let's go here to Luke chapter. No, let's go here to Matthew chapter 12, if I'm not mistaken. Matthew chapter 12 and 25. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 25. Let's get this right quick. And one thing about it, man, if you can't see that we're living in the end time, then you still stuck in what you still have that what you call that Stockholm syndrome, and also you love white man Jesus. You love the oppression. You love it here, and you get ready to die here. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. And a lot of our people are not going. Still not considering the signs of the time, still are being rebellious to this day. These are the days of Noah. But one thing about it, though, you getting ready to find out. Very soon, you getting ready to F around and find out. So let's go here. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 25 said, Yahushua knew their thoughts and replied, any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. So a town or family splintered by feuding will fall apart. So that's exactly what we're seeing right now. America is constantly falling apart. We at the end of this wicked kingdom, you know what I'm saying? The end of America. And we cannot wait. You know, a ball, DTA. You know what I'm saying? Verse 26, and also this in the NLT, it says in verse 26, and if Satan is casting out Satan, he is divided and fighting against himself. We're seeing that. So his own kingdom will not survive. So right now we're seeing, you know, the Lord is setting with the Egyptian against the Egyptian. You know what I'm saying? One shall fight against another, neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother, city against city. We're here, it's at the door. So let's read in the KJV. I want to read in the NLT because went straight to the point. And right here it says any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. So we already know we headed to the day of doom. You know what I'm saying? The end of this nightmare. Esau is the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow, that new age that dwells in righteousness, which in fact is the kingdom of heaven. Man, we cannot wait. Let's read in that KJV. Said, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. It said, every city and house divided against itself shall not stand. So this place is getting ready to crumble like a cookie. The Lord already said it's divided and it will not stand. And one thing about it, the only thing it will stand, you know what I'm saying, this wisdom is not this understanding. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, we here, man, we are constantly warning you left and right. We are so very excited. Verse 26 in the KJV is that if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. So how shall then the kingdom stand? It will not stand. We're seeing that left and right. We're saying that these damn Edomites going back and forth, but it's all by design. But by who? Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua. So now let's go back to the videos. A couple more I gotta pick out. I gotta find them first. There's another one I want to show you. Let's go to this one here.
Trump wants to invoke the Insurrection Act to punish anyone who opposes him.
If you take a look at what's been going on in Portland, it's been going on for a long time, and that's insurrection. I mean, that's pure insurrection.
I know all of this is frightening, and I don't want to unduly alarm you, but you need to be aware of this imminent danger. It's unfolding very, very rapidly. He's following a 4-point plan that you need to know about. Step 1 is to deploy ICE into so-called blue cities run by Democrats. These masked and armed ICE agents are wreaking havoc on American cities and violating due process. They're arresting people outside immigration courtrooms. They're raiding homes in the middle of the night and detaining children and adults, including American citizens. They admit to using racial profiling. These aggressive tactics are provoking demonstrations, which leads me to step 2, exaggerate the scale and severity of the protests. Trump has described Portland as a war-ravaged city burning to the ground, but Portland's own police chief has debunked that.
The city of Portland is about 145 square miles. This is one city block. Even the events that are happening down there do not rise to the level of attention that they are receiving.
And Trump continues to describe Chicago as a war zone. But recently, that's because of ICE agents who've sprayed tear gas, pepper balls, and rubber bullets into crowds of journalists and protesters gathered outside a detention facility. But that doesn't seem to matter to Trump. It's all part of a plan to establish a pretext for step 3, deploy National Guard troops. Trump is deploying hundreds of National Guard troops from red states like Texas into blue states like Oregon and Illinois against the wishes of Democratic governors. This is continuing to enrage an already outraged public, which is the whole point. Trump wants to stoke actual violence, which would make it easier for him to unleash the final step in his plan, which is step 4, invoke the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act empowers a president to federalize the National Guard and use the U.S. military to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, or armed rebellion against the government. Everything done by Trump has been a preamble to invoking this act and being able to unleash troops against his perceived political enemies who oppose his regime in advance of the 2026 midterms. It would be the ultimate step in Trump's authoritarian power grab. There are fights happening in the courts right now that could put a stop to all of this. Even Trump's own appointed judges in the federal courts are standing in opposition to him. And you have a role to play too. Trump and his enablers want violent confrontations in order to justify their moves. So please, remain peaceful if you protest, or if you encounter ICE agents or National Guard troops where you live. Do not give Trump what he wants. Instead, record what you see and post it. Send it to local media. Do whatever you can to chip away at the false narrative Trump and his cronies are trying to build as a pretext for unleashing their power grab and stripping away our freedoms. And please, help spread the word about what Trump is planning by sharing this video.
What he's planning is what the New World Order. So we seeing that it's taking place right before our eyes. Another one I want to get. I'm not going to go back to it. Let's go to this one here. It's about this. See what I want to get here. This door to door. Let's get this one. Then we're going to get a few more.
The Vice President of the United States has now come out and said that ICE will start going door to door to arrest and capture people. Disturbed J.D. Vance ICE door-to-door comments compared to 1930s Germany after horror shooting. Vice President J.D. Vance has advocated for ramping up deportations with door-to-door operations as tensions over immigration enforcement intensified following the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. So now, after the shooting, he came out, they defended the guy. They said the guy has absolute immunity, so nothing is going to happen to him. And not only that, he said we need more. And you know what's funny? At least 50% of Nigerians who follow me, who are non-Northerners, non-Muslim, will watch this video and still say, yes, we don't care. We want America to come and save Christians. Look what they're doing to Christians in their own country. Look what the Christians are doing to Christians in their own country. Now that they're going door to door, you see, this is before the World Cup. They're announcing this. They're trying to make us slowly accept the reality. As I said, the Iron Curtain will come down either after the World Cup or after the Olympics. One of the two will happen. It will be that American citizens cannot and will not be able to leave America. You cannot have a police state without people to police. And here it is. This is the exact same thing that the reason it's being compared to 1930s Germany is because the Gestapo, Polizei, or whatever the fuck it is Polizei. Fuck the Germans. I don't give a fuck. Gestapo literally started out doing this. They started out going house to house. And then eventually it got to the point they were so powerful that at home, this is a true story. Look this up. It happened in almost every home in Germany. At home, a father, a wife, son, daughter sitting down eating dinner. Every single person is afraid of saying something negative to Gestapo because the father doesn't know if his wife will give him away. The father and wife don't know if their sons or daughters will snitch on them. Literally, it made families afraid to have conversations at home because you did not know who was going to sell you out in your own family. Now it's starting in America and nobody... See, I've always said it, and I hope everyone's finally believing it now. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with government. The reason Americans have to have guns is because if black Americans ever wake up to seek vengeance for slavery, Americans need to have a way to defend themselves.
Who would rouse them up? And also, we already know that your worst enemy will be your person of your own household, you know, so we coming upon these times. We are constantly warning you left and right. It is here, it is at the door. So let's go get Isaiah. We get a few more precepts. We'll probably close out. Might go back to a few videos, but I think the point has been made through the Spirit and the power of Yahweh Shema Shah. Let's go here to Isaiah chapter 19. Let's get this right quick. Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 2, it says, we're going to read in the KJV first. It said, and I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So that's exactly what the Lord is doing, setting what the American citizens against each other, and also setting them against the government. We're seeing this right now. It's what constantly divided. So we're seeing that these cities are constantly in turmoil. You know, so we're seeing these ICE patrol constantly pushing these global elites agenda. You know, they want total control. You know, that NWO. You know, it's also to give you that digital oil under your skin. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, so we're seeing right now a great division is happening right now, and the Lord is causing these things to happen left and right. It's called Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. It's unfolding right before our eyes. So right now, we know that we're very close to the famine of the word, because these scriptures right now, they're speaking for themselves right now. And the Bible is a true book. Whether you will hear or whether you will forbear, we don't give a damn. We're going to constantly do the will of Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. It says here in the NLT, side, I make Egyptian fight against Egyptian. It's a brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, province against province, counties against counties, states against states, cities against city, man, and so forth. Man, we are here, civil unrest, civil war. We're seeing all these different movies they are put out, civil war, leave the world out, the purge, Minority Report, and many others, tell you about what they are getting ready to bring forth. And one thing about it that we're seeing right now, the Lord's word is not returned to him void. So now, let's go here to let's go to 2nd Ezra. We close out here in 2nd Ezra chapter 16, and we'll start up at verse 17. It said, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? And woe go into destruction. It said, verse 18 said, the beginning of sorrows, and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So we seeing evils all around us, left and right. It's constantly increasing. So we're at the beginning of sorrow. We're at the beginning of the birth pain. They're constantly going, constantly happening left and right. But the Lord said the end is not yet. Rumors of war, earthquakes in diverse places, pestilence, famines. These things that have mournings, sorrow, all sorts of desperation. We're seeing that right before our eyes. So we are in the birth pain, and they're going to constantly increase until the great and glorious return of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. War is upon our shore. We're seeing it left and right. All these nations were constantly preparing for war. Also, we know that America is getting ready to be a war zone very soon. The Lord said, I will fill America with men like caterpillars. So this place is going to be swarming with the enemy within, which in fact these ICE patrol, these UN troops, these sleeper cells, also these Gurga troops are getting ready to come in, these super soldiers. That's what we constantly warn you about. And one thing about it said, what shall I do when these evils shall come? We're going to trust and believe in Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Verse 19 says, behold, famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So one thing about it, it's time to amend your ways, time to examine yourself, get your house in order. So let go of the modern thought, because we are here, it's at the door. And one thing about it, we're seeing those plagues, these outbreaks, super flu, the increased C19, we're seeing a lot of different sickness and disease constantly slowly popping back up again. And also we know that they're going to come with that digital download, that hokey pokey that happened back in 2020. That's coming back around once again. So we're seeing that these things are happening. Famine, economic collapse, we're seeing right now the dollar slowly fading away, and also they're getting ready to usher into this new digital society. It's going to be dealing with your biometric transhumanism. These things are coming into play left and right. The RFD microchip, the Neuralink, these things are here. They're at the door. So we're not just talking at the side of our neck. Do a quick Google search, a quick AI overview, chat GBT. This truth is being declared. We constantly warn you. The Lord said, when this gospel shall be preached throughout the four corners of the earth, then shall the end come. So we're very close to the end. We're very close to the end of this age, the end of this nightmare, and we're very excited. Verse 20 said, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourge. So a lot of people are not going to turn from their wickedness and not mindful of the scourge, what's happening all around us, left and right. May the Lord, we constantly warn you, like you seeing these news reports. Have eyes to see, but you see not. You have ears to hear, but you hear not. You still want to be that same rebellious house that did not want to return to Yahweh Ba'ashim Abishai. That's why the Lord is bringing forth that judgment. The Lord's getting ready to purge out the rebels. And one thing about it, we're here. We constantly want it. A lot of people still are bucking up. We don't give a damn. Verse 21, behold, victuals shall be good and cheap upon the earth, so that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. That's exactly what we're seeing. Increase, you know what I'm saying, confusion, increase uprising, uproar, protesting, rioting, you know what I'm saying, increase what? Violence, famine, you know, constantly these things are happening, man. Plagues, you know what I'm saying, disease, outbreaks, things are coming. Also, that's what? Judgment. We constantly seeing it left and right. It's going to pick up. And people thinking that they're a good case, relaxing in their leads, going on with their daily life, not considering the signs of the time, and they're right before our eyes. You're going to get caught up in this evil net, which in fact is Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. Verse 22 said, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So you escape one thing, you're going to run right into another thing. He said, woe to them that desire the day of the Lord, what end it shall be to you. We already know that the day of the Lord shall be a day of gloominess, a day of darkness, you know what I'm saying? Desolation. We here. It's at the door, man. I'm telling you, we are here. These things are happening right before our eyes. Let's drop down here to verse, let's see here. Let's go here to verse, start up at verse 36. I should highlight some of this, but, you know, hey, I highlighted later. It says here, said, behold, 2 chapter 16, verse 36, said, behold, the word of the Lord, receive it. Said, believe not the gods whom the Lord spake. Said, verse 37, said, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Verse 38 said, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, and 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Verse 39 said, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. So, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So right now we're seeing that these plagues are not slacking down, not for a moment. And we're seeing right now that the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. We're seeing that left and right. So things are constantly picking up. We're seeing more increased prophetic prophecies are speaking loud and clear. We're seeing right now that, you know what I'm saying, that the Lord is constantly accelerating things. We're seeing right now the Lord is what is visiting the earth that he created. And also we're seeing that the men of the Lord are standing on their watch, and we're standing on fire for Yahweh Ba'ashim Abishai. We're here, man. We're constantly warning you. You know, we're here. Verse 40, it said, O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle. And in those evil, even said, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So we're going to let the Lord direct our step. You know what I'm saying? Spiritual power is coming. Supernatural intervention is coming into play. The oil change of Micah is getting ready to stand up for the children of Israel. So we're getting ready to see some amazing things are getting ready to come upon this earth. The Lord is getting ready to intervene on the what? The elect sake, the house of David. The Lord's getting ready to show up and show out. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be a pilgrims upon the earth. We're going to constantly what? Trust and believe Yahweh Ba'ashim Abishai. The Lord said, my servants shall eat, they shall be hungry. My servants shall drink, they shall be thirsty. And out about it, the Lord is getting ready to come to deliver us. The Lord is getting ready to provide for us. The Lord is getting ready to sustain us. You know what I'm saying? With great glory and great power. So let's go to our last and final script. Let's drop down to verse 69. We start up at verse 68, Salakia. Start up here. It says here, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certainly you and feed you, being idols to things offered to idols. So one thing about it, so this was where we at right now. The devil shall cast some of you into prison. right now, that burning wrath of a great multitude. We're seeing it. America pretty much is surrounded by the enemy. You know what I'm saying? You're already saying about, reports of China and Russia warships, on the East Coast, also the Pacific, and also in the Caribbean, and also in the Arctic Circle. So we're seeing that we're here, that great multitude. And it said they shall take away certain of you, certain people are going to go to these FEMA camp. If it's that your lot, you might even have to be beheaded. But guess what? The Lord said, be thy faithful until death, I will give thee a crown of life. And what is this? This idol they're going to offer you, which in fact is the RFD microchip. Shall go into your right hand or your forehead. If you consent or you submit, you are going to be trodden underfoot, and you going to have to suffer that second death, which in fact is the lake of fire, which in fact that's Babylon the Great. And how will it become a lake of fire? These IBCM missiles that's getting ready to fly very soon. Things that get ready to go nuclear. That's what we're constantly warning about. We're coming at the end of this nightmare. There will be no inhabitant left here. If you love it here, you get ready to die here. So right here, so a lot of people right now, they're going to line up like clockwork. They're going to trust in the strength of Egypt. And one thing about it will be your shame and your confusion. You'll be a disgrace, and you're going to be totally destroyed. So you're bowing down to the so-called white man. You bowing down to the system. You want that badge of servitude. You know what I'm saying? But all you must do is trust and believe in Yahweh. We don't give a damn what this man is bringing. We already know how the story ends. We win in the end. It says here, verse 6 and 9, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. That's exactly what's getting ready to happen. You will be had in reproach, shame, disgrace, and trodden underfoot. That means that you will be put to death. The lake of fire. That's what we constantly warning you about. Left and right. If you consent, if you be partakers, you'll get ready to, be unalive. Verse 7, they said, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. And that insurrection, goes into martial law, these lockdowns, what I'm saying, civil unrest, you can't go into this city, can't go into that city without the right credentials. So we seeing right now that, in every place and in the next city. So pretty much in all these different major cities, they trying to set it up, these ICE patrol, these the military, the Marines, we're seeing this left and right, a great insurrection, it's going to be uproars of the people. We're going to see it. Civil unrest, civil war, protesting, rioting all across the world. So right now the world is in turmoil. You see it's going to constantly pick up a time of trouble that we've never seen before. Verse 71 says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And I bet we're seeing how they being like madmen, unaliving people, dragging people. It was a report I seen earlier that a man lost his eye, in one of these conflict with ICE. So things are constantly picking up. They're going to still be, they don't give a damn. They're going to do whatever. So right now, J.D. Vance said that he's giving ICE absolute immunity, whether it's legal or not, so we're seeing they're going to be doing anything and everything, whatever, what I'm saying, that come to mind. We're coming upon that lawless time, and those that fear the Lord. But when they start putting their hands on the elect, the Lord is going to lift up that standard. When the enemy coming like a flood, the Lord's going to lift up a standard, a way to escape. Also, spiritual power is coming. It's right around the corner. We cannot wait. Verse 72, it said, For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So because of the lack of resource, great economic collapse, people going to be starving, what I'm saying, with food shortage, rolling blackout, a lot of things, no internet, no water. So they're going to be robbing, stealing, and killing, doing whatever they have to do. Verse 73 says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. So that by that time, you're going to know who the Lord is truly dealing with, which in fact is the house of David, the true believers of Yahweh, Baal Shem Yahushua. We're going to go through the fire, but out of the body, so we're going to come out that fine, that refined gold, what I'm saying, the elect. What I'm saying? Hey man, we so very excited, man. Our salvation is very close at hand. Let's get this verse 74. It said, hear, O ye my beloved, says the Lord. It said, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. What I'm saying? That's what the Lord is getting ready to do. The day of trouble is at hand. Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. But the Lord said, I will deliver you from the same. And out of the Bible says, that's all we got to do is constantly trust and believe in Yahweh, Baal Shem Yahushua. Verse 75 said, but be ye not afraid, said, neither doubt, for Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is your guide. So trust and believe in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. So we know that we're coming upon these times. These things are fastly approaching. But the Lord already said, through much tribulation, ye shall enter the kingdom of heaven. And also we know that this place is getting ready to be overthrown by what much violence. We already know that we're at the end of America. We're at the end of this wicked queen. We're at the end of what Esau, Edom. You know, it's this heathen rulership. You know, the times of the Gentiles are almost fulfilled. That's why the Lord said, lift up thy head, look up, your redemption draws near. So now, the title of the day lesson, once again, is Trump threat to invoke the Insurrection Act. And Jacob's trouble is here. So I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Rekah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom. Keep believing, keep pushing. Shalom.